A good cup of tea can make everything better. And if it's a good cup of pure Ceylon tea, all things do feel better. Rich carpets of verdant green cascade through the hill country of Sri Lanka. Thousands of acres of tea planted 150 years ago, hand-picked by tea pluckers precariously perched on the sides of mountains. It is those hand-picked 2 leaves in a bud that make Ceylon tea that much more special. And it takes a little over 4,000 of those tiny leaves to make a kilogram of finished tea. The antioxidants in tea are very good for you as it repairs cells and fights diseases, and there's an art to making the perfect cuppa. Timing is crucial, boiling water poured on leaves is a must, and steeping is an imperative. So get that cup of tea and enjoy Kaleidoscope with me, Savitri Rodrigo, and find out about the celebratory week we've had from our exclusive lineup of interviewees. There's the country director of the 2020 Nobel Peace Prize winning World Food Programme, Brenda Barton, the great game of business all-star international champion English tea shop CEO Suranga Herath, a young woman who made history, Reshika Udugampola, member of the International Olympic Committee's Marketing Commission, and that's on our People's Bank News Capsule. Mariam Omar demonstrates some great moves in the hammock-based aerial yoga in Singer Life in 60. And on Selinko Life Let's Talk, we find out what happens inside and outside the prison system. Commissioner of Prisons Administration, Rehabilitation and Skills Development of the Department of Prisons, Chandana Ekanayaka, and writer and ex-prisoner Diresh Devanayagam sheds light on the ins and outs of prison. Plus, loads more.
Technology is key in moving forward to transform every challenging moment into a profit, where manual becomes digital, business becomes smart, and lives become smarter. People's Bank Online Corporate Banking. It's truly the change you need.
We begin our People's Bank News Capsule showcasing our exports, which have touched $1 billion for the third time in 2020. In the months of July, August and September, merchandise exports saw a year-on-year increase. However, the pandemic has impacted apparel exports, which dropped by 22% to just $3.1 billion in the first 9 months of 2020, the lowest in 5 years. China gave Sri Lanka a 16.5 billion rupee grant as a result of the Chinese delegation visiting Sri Lanka last week. The grant is to be used for high priority medical care, education and water supply in rural areas. In 2019, 135 million people the world over suffered from acute hunger, the highest in any year. And the World Food Programme assisted 100 million of them in 88 countries. It is no wonder then that the Nobel Peace Prize 2020 was presented to the WFP for its efforts to combat hunger, contributing towards peace in conflict areas, and being a driving force in preventing the use of hunger as a weapon of war and conflict. I asked the WFP representative, the country director in Sri Lanka, Brenda Barton, what winning the Nobel Peace Prize means to the WFP.
The team at the World Food Programme are humbled and so honored by the Nobel Peace Prize that has been given to us. We truly feel that it is a recognition of the work, the life-saving work that our team here in Sri Lanka, as well as globally, has been doing the last few years. Here in Sri Lanka, we had the tsunami response, we had the response during the conflict years, and now we're doing other kinds of programs that are assisting people day to day. School meals programs for children, nutrition, and helping smallholder farmers have better livelihoods and incomes. We're also helping the government to mitigate the impact of climate shocks that are frequently hitting Sri Lanka. Drought, floods, landslides, these are all very important to ensuring that people have enough food to eat at home. And as well now, the COVID crisis, we know that that means less incomes for people. It could mean less food on the table, certainly less nutritious foods. So these are other challenges that we will, together with the government and other partners, be addressing.
And speaking of Nobel Prize winners, it is this year's joint Nobel Prize winner for chemistry, Dr. Jennifer Doudna, who, with a team headed by Melanie Ott from the Gladstone Institute, drove a University of California research team to develop a test that can detect COVID-19 in just 5 minutes. Using CRISPR gene editing technology and a modified mobile phone camera, this testing method doesn't require expensive lab equipment to run and could potentially be deployed at doctors' offices, schools, and office buildings. Although the tourism sector is facing tough times, Sri Lanka has a few more reasons to celebrate. Condé Nast Traveller named Sri Lanka the second best country in the world, right next to Italy, beating Portugal, Japan and Greece as ideal holiday destinations. Sri Lanka was also in the top 5 best countries to visit last year. And Condé Nast Traveller also named Sri Lankan Airlines among the best international airlines. Sri Lankan was placed 6th in a list of the top 15, with Singapore Airlines, Emirates and Qatar coming in the top 3. The Colombo stock market's indices is showing signs of definite resurgence despite the country seeing a comeback of a new COVID-19 cluster. Turnover skyrocketed to over 5 billion rupees early this week, and by close of market on Thursday, the indices had moved up by 2% during the week and the average daily turnover remained at a healthy 4 billion rupees. New refinery startups in China are helping to absorb some of the excess crude oil from the Middle East. China's oil imports in September increased by 2.1% month over month to 11.8 million barrels per day, the first monthly rise in 3 months. WTI oil is currently trading at $40.50 per barrel. Meanwhile, gold, considered a hedge against inflation and currency depreciation, has climbed about 25% this year. Gold is currently trading at $1,893 per ounce, down slightly from last week. Sri Lanka's English Tea Shop, which markets premium organic tea to 50 countries, won the prestigious Great Game of Business All-Star Award 2020 International Champion. Having begun to play the great game of business for a number of years, the company was given the award for demonstrating a sustainable continuity in its business model, showcasing profitability even through COVID-19. English Tea Shop inculcates the best practices of open book management, which encourages a shared value culture of employees thinking and acting like owners. CEO of the English Tea Company, Suranga Herath, explained the difference the great game makes.
GGOB is an open book management based holistic management system that starts with sharing financial information. But when a company starts playing the game, employees start to think, feel and act like business owners, and that permeates in every decision and action they take on a daily basis. When you play the game, it's expected that employees are given a measure of business success and also taught how to understand them. They're expected as well as enabled to act on their knowledge to improve performance, and they are also given a direct stake in the company's success. Running a business is really just like any competitive sport. Playing the game consistently will most likely improve your competitive advantage too.
For the first time, there's been a South Asian woman who has been appointed to the International Olympic Committee's Marketing Commission. She's represented Sri Lanka at the London Olympics in 2012, World Championships 2010 and 2011, and captained the Sri Lanka swim team in 2012. I caught up with Reshika Udugampala and asked her as to what excites her about the appointment.
I think this is a big win for women in general, because as the first woman to be appointed in IOC from the South Asian region, I think this is a big win for us, and also a big win for the athletes in general in Sri Lanka to be known to represent the country in the international forum. This is, I think, the first time in history a Sri Lankan woman has been appointed in the IOC Commission. So I think this is one of the great achievements, not for me, not for just NOC, it's for the entire country. Currently, they are just gathering the team together. We'll be having the IOC Commission on the 30th of October, and it will be going on for about 2 weeks until November. We'll be given a brief introduction and a workshop on how things are happening in IOC, and they'll be grooming us to the next level of marketing commission and go into IOC commissions.
The Spirit of the Rose, the world's largest vivid purple-pink diamond, will go on auction at Sotheby's Magnificent Jewels and Noble Jewels auction. The 14.83 carat fancy vivid purple pink flawless diamond was faceted from the largest pink rough diamond ever mined in Russia. It is named after the celebrated Russian ballet, The Spirit of the Rose. It's never say die when it comes to James Bond. While the release of the next James Bond film, No Time to Die, has been delayed once again, that iconic white bikini that the first Bond girl, Ursula Andress, wore in Dr. No in 1962 will be fetching about $500,000 at an auction next month. And here's a glimpse of the famous Australian firefighters calendar for 2021. This year, the firefighters posed with native Australian wildlife, spotlighting the loss of 1 billion animals lost due to bushfires. Hey, focus on the wildlife, not the firefighters. And that's our People's Bank News Capsule this week. We'll be back with Diresh Sevanayagam and Prisons Commissioner Chandana Ekanayake as we get some intel on prison. On Selingco Life, let's talk.
With Selingco Life Pension Saver, Sri Lanka's premier retirement plan, start planning for your retirement today. Selingco Life, a relationship for life.
Sri Lanka's prisons are creaking at the seams. 30 prisons, convict prisons, work camps, open prison camps and remand prisons hold 32,000 prisoners in spaces that should hold only 11,000. Of these 32,000, 10,000 are convicted prisoners and 22,000 are remandees. 8,500 of the remand prisoners remain for years within the precincts of the prison, as cases are still being heard. There are a significant number of prisoners whose court cases have been heard but are unable to pay the court-imposed fines. This has led to further congestion. Recently, Project Hope brought about hope for some of these. The brainchild of Marlon Ferreira, chairman of Triad Advertising and George Stewart's group, Dilith Jayavira, stepped in to pay the fines of some of these prisoners under the Sri Lanka CAN umbrella and set them free. This hopefully will set the trend for more corporates to join the fray. But here's the conundrum. What happens when prisoners do come out of prison, especially those who serve long sentences? On Selingco Life Let's Talk today, I chat with writer and ex-prisoner Diresh Sevanayagam to find out what prison was actually like and what it was like to get out into the real world after 13.5 years. Then, Commissioner of Prisons Administration, Rehabilitation and Skills Development of the Department of Prisons, Chandana Ekanayake, who supported Project Hope, believes strongly that rehabilitation is key to survival for these prisoners. And he joins us with some very progressive ideas. Now, here's Diresh. Diresh, what was it like in prison?
I learned a trade, so I learned how to make rope, brooms out of coir, and equal broom. So I'm a Prison Industries grade 3 in rattan and coir products, all dead industries. So when I came out, all those tasks are now carried out by machines, so those industries no longer exist. For 13.5 years in prison, so I learned that. I learned to do drugs. I became an addict in prison. And even when I came out, I struggled with that. So I had to go into rehab, and I struggled with that over a period of 2 years before I finally managed to get out of it. And then I went to Peradeniya, Lanka Bible College, and I did my degree there. So what was it like in prison? Basically I learned a useless trade, and I came out with a monkey on my back.
So what was it like getting out of prison?
It was a huge challenge because I came out with an addiction, something that I didn't have when I went in, so I had to sort that out. So I went straight into rehab when I came out of prison, which was also an issue because I was on parole. They tried to cancel my parole because of that, but I finally managed to sort it out. A lot of the tasks and skills that people take for granted, I did not have. Like for example, budgeting your salary, very basic things that people take for granted, which they learn. But when you're in prison, you're like a vegetable. You're institutionalized. So you get your food, you get your lodging, you know what time to get up, they ring a bell, you know what time to get your food, you go in the queue, get your food, go in the queue, do your work, and at 6 o'clock you go get locked up, about another 8-9 guys, small cell, lots of things going on. But very basic things of how to manage money, how to live, how to relate to other people, how to make decisions for oneself, things that most people take for granted. These skills I didn't have when I came out.
So, were you afraid when you got out?
I was, yeah. It was a challenge because just to think about what to do, after spending about 13 years in prison, I came out when I was 35, and to get a job, I would be starting off with guys who are just out of school at 18, 19. Even going to Bible college was a challenge at that age because the others in my class were in their 20s, all right? And just to go back to school at that age was a huge challenge for me. But I managed it, yeah. And I was an honor student. I actually gave the speech at the graduation, so I managed. But a lot of the basic skills that people take for granted, like even how to relate to other people, maintain relationships, manage money, all of these things, life skills are things that you don't learn in prison. So you learn other things which you can't apply in normal society.
So after you left prison, you started working with prisoners inside the prison as well as with ex-prisoners. Why?
I have visited prisons and I try to encourage people with my story so that that they also know that there is hope after prison, that they can break the cycle of coming out, doing crime, going back. It's like a vicious cycle that people get caught up in. It's the responsibility of people who have been through that to do their best to kind of change the system as it is, because the system doesn't work, it's broken. All it does is it encourages people to continue in that life of crime. So that is what the prison system does. It brutalizes people, it changes people for the worse. You learn things that you would not learn in your normal life. Maybe drugs, maybe homosexuality, violence, deceit, lying, all of these things you need in order to survive in prison. And when you come out, and if you try to apply those skills that you learned in prison, you will be in deep, deep trouble. And I was privileged because I had family, I had friends who were willing to help me, I had my brothers who were very close who supported me, and I had this entire support system, the church, all of these people who were willing to invest their time in helping me live a normal life. So that is what a lot of people take for granted. To live a normal life is a privilege. But it was because of this entire support system that I had that I managed. And to tell you the truth, 99% of people in prison do not have that support system. So they do not have a family, or they do not have friends who are willing to, So when they go out, sometimes they are homeless, right? They do not have a place to go. They have come out with an addiction. All they know is what they have learned in prison, either to sell drugs or to steal. That's what they know, or prostitute themselves, right? That is what they know, that is what they have learned. So if you try to apply those things, what you have learned in prison, in normal society, what happens is you get arrested and you go right back in. So for them, it's like a no-win situation. And that is why people keep coming back.
It is that strong support system that helped Diresh get back to normalcy. After coming out of prison in 2009, Diresh went into Lanka Bible College, graduating with a bachelor's degree in theology, co-wrote a book with his brother Sam, and is writing another, got married, has a family, works in the church and with students around the country, sharing his story for inspiration. He has been working with the prison system to encourage rehabilitation and was involved in the Jeevanabhimanaya policy document of the Presidential Secretariat Rehabilitation Program and contributed to writing the policy for the Rehabilitation Centre. And given that perspective from an ex-prisoner, I had some questions for the Commissioner of Prisons Administration, Rehabilitation and Skills Development of the Department of Prisons, Chandana Ekanayake. So Chandana, there's a lot of violence, there's drug use in prison, there's brutality in prison. How can these prisoners actually return to normal life once they complete their sentence, if this is what they have been used to?
Now we have drug rehabilitation programs, collaboration with Dangerous Drug Control Board, and we are planning to start, we actually already planned to start drug rehabilitation centers for this kind of people. And the violence means actually violence are under control. You know, violence always happening because of the overcrowding. The overcrowding is the main violence matter, because there's a very limited space. The limited space and so many people. So many people, they have to sleep, they have to stay, and the violence starting.
What is the responsibility that corporates and also people like us have towards those prisoners who have served those long-term sentences and come out of prison? What should we know and how should we behave?
Actually, the people go out from the prison and they are going back to their same inhabitant society. The people who they are friends and the same society, they are going back to the same place. So they learn many things inside the prison, but it won't change because nobody will give them a job, give them a chance, and you know and they labeled imprisoned. So that is why these people can't work for a company or a self-employment. People won't care them. People want much recognition. So and they have to take police report to take a job, you know, for a foreign job or inside the country. But the police won't allow these people to give the police report because they have the crime record as well as drug users record. We all have a responsibility because you people like you all should do give them a personality development program or skills development, and you know, that kind of a training and that kind of a program to them. And as well as you can, while they are in the prison, the people who are interested about this, go and meet prison authorities and have a discussion and choose them for, and the time they come out, you can use them for a job or a service or any kind of a work. Actually, this is what not happening. So I am telling the society, come inside the prison and have a look, and you can choose the people who releasing, they're going to release recently. You can help them. You can help them. They lost many things in life, but the society has a responsibility to do this.
But as a society, it's easy to be judgmental. But as the Prisons Commissioner says, it is our responsibility as individuals and corporates to give prisoners a chance and help them to get back into society. Are we ready to be inclusive, help them integrate and move them away from the lives of crime that they will inevitably fall into if there is no hope? And that's where we come in. Because otherwise, they yet remain imprisoned, whether they are in a cell or in the outside world. They are behind bars. Thank you, Chandana Ekanayake and Dinesh Sevanayagam, for the frank thoughts you shared with us on Selingco Life. Let's talk.
With Selingco Life Pension Saver, Sri Lanka's premier retirement plan, start planning for your retirement today. Selingco Life, a relationship for life.
We'll be back with some aerial yoga on Singer Life in 60 with Mariam Omar. It's just a hammock suspended from the ceiling, but oh, what you can do. It's the perfect way to relax, decompress your spine and relieve any joint pain. The most fun thing is that the hammock makes you feel like a kid again because it feels like play. So on Singer Life in 60, we join Mariam Omar, who has been practicing yoga since 2014 and is a qualified aerial yoga teacher, teaching both at Prana Lounge and TA Fitness.
Hi, I'm going to show you one of my favorite postures. It's an upside down one, obviously, with a little bit of strength training. When you start class, you don't start with such a thin band, but there's multiple variations of this to make you feel nice, relaxed and easier.
I just love watching how flexible and how fun aerial yoga is. Thank you, Mariam Omar, for showing us how easy aerial yoga seems in Singer Life in 60. Any feedback, suggestions or stories you'd like to see are always welcome. So please email us on kaleidoscopeweekly1@gmail.com. All Let's Talk Life in 60 and news capsule clips are on our playlists on our YouTube channel. And do click on the subscribe button on our YouTube channel, Kaleidoscope with Savitri Rodrigo, and press the bell icon to remain updated. So until next week, please do not tempt fate. COVID numbers are rising. Wear your masks, wash your hands, and avoid crowded spaces. Now, here's your Kaleidoscope takeaway. When you are enthusiastic about what you do, you feel this positive energy. It's very simple.